Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy McCory with the Greater Issaquah Chamber, and today we are interviewing King County Council candidate, Sarah Clay. And so Sarah, and I'm sorry, Sarah Clay or Sarah Perry? I should be sure I'm saying that correctly. Sarah Perry.
Oh, Sarah Perry, yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Thank you. All right, my apologies for that. So Sarah is a local Issaquah resident, and she is running again for our King County Council position. And want to thank her very much for joining us. And this is our opportunity to get to know Sarah today. We're going to be asking just 5 questions, most of them based around transportation, because we know that's important to all of our business community. And with that, Sarah, we're going to just jump right in because our first question is going to allow us to get to know you a little bit better. And just so the audience knows, you'll have 2 minutes to respond to each of these questions. Our first question is, if you would please describe the qualifications and leadership skills that you will bring to this position.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate your time and interest and the opportunity. So Sarah Perry, I'm running for King County Council District 3, and I am a small business owner, nonprofit executive, coalition builder, and I have worked with nonprofit and government sectors for 30 years. I've lived in Issaquah for 21 years, so I'm homegrown here, and these past 21 years was 6 years in North Bend before that. I was the first executive director at Eastside Housing, which is now Springboard Alliance in Redmond, working to build transitional housing and shelter there, working with a coalition of HopeLink, Friends of Youth, and Catholic Community Services. And then I went from there, and that was a $20 million budget that I oversaw and worked with the construction crew and developed it into the position, the point where all of the parties were in place. We worked with bonds and had all of our families move in and worked with the community around as well to get everybody stable and set. And we had no, really very little transitional housing. So that was a step working with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to bring supportive housing and surround support services. Went from there to Seattle University, where I was the director of university initiatives and worked with the interfaith community. I worked with mission and ministry and Graduate School of Theology and Ministry, and I was responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget and building, I think it was $30 million was the campaign, the initial campaign goal, actually 15 initial campaign goal, and then 30 million was the second campaign goal. So responsible for making sure that we brought in all of the fundraising needed there and worked with a strong team to make that happen. And then went from there to Social Venture Partners International, where I worked with, I was the vice chair of development. Actually, I think my title was vice president of development. And I worked all over the country with nonprofit organizations. This is a collection of philanthropists who contributed to a pool to support the mission of those organizations that were working on critical issues for those cities. Here, it's education and the environment. India, it's job development. And it was a very exciting time. And I got to work with 42 different units in 9 countries to help them develop their skills and their ability to do solid outreach and sustainable development for their programs. So that was really exciting. And then I worked here in the
Wow. Great. Thank you. Thank you. That's a lot. All right. So our next question, Sarah, is which local and regional organizations do you see working with to be most beneficial in this position?
Well, obviously, you are a great partner for what I would be doing. I'm enjoying working and meeting with each of the mayors of the 7 cities once a month to understand their perspectives. There are many different organizations that I'm interested in working with, from business to the environment to transit to housing. I'm really focused on being a coalition builder. And I have to say, this does not imply endorsement, but there are people that I turn to who have different views than mine in many ways. And I seek them out because of that. And they've been great mentors throughout time. And one of those is my very good friend, Rob Hunt. So I actually worked at Village Theater for a little bit early on. And I have a great respect for what he has brought to our community. And our kids actually grew up in Kids Stage. And I really, really love the gem that Village Theater is. Worked with him. And I talked with him a lot about Issaquah and how to make sure it is a thriving community. I talked with Skip Rowley, just to hear his thoughts on what the best move forward is. And we have very different views, and I really appreciate his respectful approach to solutions. And he's very smart about all of the different competing issues. And so I learn a lot from him. I talked with Fred Butler quite a bit, Mark Mullett, Christina Bruning. So these are folks in the Issaquah community that have served as mentors for me over the years that I've lived here. And I would turn to them individually as I'm working with different organizations and partnering with different organizations in coalition building.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So now we're going to get into some transportation questions. Again, always top of mind here as we continue to grow, and excited to see all of our new family and friends that come to Issaquah. But as the East Side continues to be a major concern, or I'm sorry, let me start that over. That's not going to make sense. Transportation on the East Side continues to be a major concern for Issaquah due to the tremendous growth planned in Bellevue and the rest of the region. What would you do to help get vehicles off roads and create better options for commuting instead?
Yeah, this is a great question. And of course, we are one of two fastest growing regions, fastest growing districts in King County for the next 10 years. So we have a serious responsibility to pay attention to how to build in a smart way, how to make sure we have affordable workforce housing and low income housing, as well as market rate. I know that in Issaquah, we have 8,000 apartments and condos coming in the foreseeable future. And this is going to be one of the ways that we approach our solution to affordable housing and low-income housing that allow our teachers and our firefighters and our grocery clerks, all of our folks to live and learn, work, play in the same community, which I think is a huge answer to our transit issue. The more we can have folks live in the same space, the less they have to commute. So that solves a lot. And then, of course, we have light rail coming in Bellevue in a minute. And that will then come forward to Issaquah. And so in order for us to take advantage of all of these great transit opportunities, we need our own shuttles. We need electric shuttles here. We need our transit back at the maximum level, pre-COVID level, not 50%. We have to remove the barriers for all of our community members to be able to take advantage of public transit. It's just, we're never going to meet our goals until we do that. And that's climate, but it's also making sure we have a thriving business community. And the way that we do that, when we have a thriving business community, all of our communities thrive. And the way that we make sure we have that is for folks to be able to access our communities, our businesses through transit and housing. So I'll be a strong advocate and voice for affordable housing and for multi-use housing opportunities and for transit, ride shares, electric shuttles, bike paths, walking trails. I think the majority of our travel is just 3 miles from our home. So we do have opportunities to create, ways to get around to support our community within that 3 mile radius. And I'm excited to be part of that conversation.
Great, thank you. You touched on something that's going to lead right into our next question, and that is, due to the growing transportation needs of our community, what would you do first to reinstitute Metro Transit that has been lost? And secondly, to increase Metro Transit from Southeast King County to Issaquah?
Well, we do have light rail coming to Bellevue and to Redmond in 2023. So as I said, we need ways to sync up, and we have to make sure that we are also currently creating a plan for when we have light rail right here in Issaquah. It does seem like it is far away. It's not. It is right around the corner, and we have to be prepared for that. We have to make sure that we have ways to sync up because our service will be gone. So I will be a very strong advocate for having transit stops in schedules that work for our working families. It's a really important element of success. I want to make sure that the first thing we're doing is reinstating service at 100%. So I'll be a very strong voice for that. I'm a transit champion. It's where I've been. And so it's just something I'm very passionate about because it touches all of our families, all of our senior citizens, and all of our needs. And so I want to see it reinstated, and I'll be a voice and a vote to reinstate transit wherever possible so that we have what we need right here in Issaquah. Did I answer the question, Kathy?
Yes, you did. Thank you. Because again, you know, transit is going to be the stopgap, if you will, in between, you know, we need Metro Transit and then Sound Transit. So, and that leads to the next question, because now we're just kind of building, there's a theme here, right? So if you would briefly explain how you would work with our regional partners to ensure the funding and implementation of both the I-90 under overcrossing and Sound Transit.
So those are both things that I'm very, that are very, very important, and that I will work very hard to fund and to partner with all of the different parties on, because we have to make sure that we have the funding that we need for the under overcrossing of I-90 and Sound Transit. And I want to be on the Sound Transit board, and I'm not allowed to say anything till I'm elected, and I plan to be elected, but I'm very, very excited about the possibility of being on that Sound Transit board. It's just simply one of the most important pieces that will make or break what we're doing. And I live in Old Town Issaquah. You know, we've lived down here for a very long time. We live right in front of our former mayor, Ava's home on Andrews. And this front street's important, this getting back and forth, but we've been a pass through to Maple Valley. We're a pass through to many different areas. We have to make sure that we have our transit focus, that we are all talking in the same direction. We're all working together from many different areas. And the thing that I'm excited about with transit, one of the things is I'm a coalition builder. And one of the first things I'm going to do is to bring together a King County District 3 community coalition that has these different voices with business and transit and environment and schools and so forth, and that we are working together. And I don't know anybody that doesn't want transit. And so, I mean, there are some that prefer to grow the roads and not transit. I'm not of that camp. But for those that want transit, I just feel like we have an opportunity to really work together to make sure we have the under overpass, and that we have Sound Transit working as best as it possibly can for all of our community members. So I'm very excited to do whatever I can, and also to have local access to that crossing. So, you know, I'm really, one of the things we have to make sure that we have, that we're paying attention to, is that we don't get lost in that shuttle, and that we do have local access to the undercrossing as well. So those are all things I'm very eager to work on, because I think it's going to help all of us in many, many different ways.
Great, and we agree. So Sarah, our last question is really just open-ended. You know, we so value your time. We wanted to be respectful of that. So we concentrated on pretty much just one issue here. But would you take these last few minutes with us just to share the important issues that you hope to work on should you be elected as our King County Council candidate, and you know, just the important things that we should know about you?
Great, thank you. Yeah, I am deeply embedded in our community, and I've worked on civic engagement for a number of years, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to broaden that focus of civic engagement throughout King County District 3, so that we can really be connected. All of the different communities could be connected throughout the district. We have an opportunity to work on transit together. We have an opportunity to look at our small businesses in all of our 7 cities and streamline some of the things that keep us from working as effectively and efficiently as we could. Our permitting is different in all of these different areas. We need to have an approach that is more of a regional approach, right? Where we are really focusing on leadership that doesn't start and stop in where each of our sidewalks end or our streets end. It's contiguous, and it really, we need a leader that can bring all of these voices together and is passionate about bringing all those voices together to come up with solutions that will make us a model of the 9 districts in King County. I want us to be, really doing the work that looks at the very best of what's possible and brings that in here. And so we need that. We need a forward-thinking vision, and we need visibility for our businesses. And I'm grounded in raised our families here in public education. I'm grounded in Issaquah. I love Issaquah. And I also love the opportunity to be in our small communities, our 4 other towns and cities in the Valley, and Duval and Woodinville and Redmond and Sammamish. We just have this remarkable space to protect and to work with forests, federal, state, city forests, watersheds. We want to protect it. We want to make sure that we are doing the very best we can. And the way that we do that is to bring all these voices together that have different views and just bring the very best we can forward. I think it was the Brotherhood of Locomotives called me a radical centrist the other day. So they really, because I want to see everybody bring the very best forward that they can.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So Sarah, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us here today. Joan, thank you also for being on the call. We are going to be sharing this out, as I mentioned, with our readership. And with that, I'm going to end the recording. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.